From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Back again. That's right. Luda. Feel this. It gets meaner and meaner each time, baby.
Wake up! Friday edition. Calm before the storm. The Knowles getting ready to go to Raleigh. So is myself, Corey Clark, and Irish O'Fell. We're taking the whole band up to the capital city of North Carolina. What is North Carolina? Like, what's their state motto, Corey?
I think they're the Blue Hill State.
Okay. Well, go ahead. I'll take it. I believe you. How are you?
I don't think that's true. I don't know what they are. They're not the Magnolia State, and they're not the Peach State. So
not Sunshine
the
State
Tar Heel,
either.
would they be the Tar Heel State?
I think they
would that
actually
be
are
their
the
actual
Tar Heel
nickname?
State. I really think they are. I think you are right on that one.
Okay. All right, cool. I did it. I win.
But you're doing good, though? You ready to do a good show? Ready to give the people what they want?
You know I am, man. You know I am.
Right,
I've been thinking about this all day.
All right. So a bit of an anticlimactic Friday. I guess at least I assumed that we were going to have an affirmative statement from the head football coach on who his starting quarterback was going to be for Saturday's game in Raleigh. But we didn't get that. So what does it all mean, Corey?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I think we all assume that it's going to be Blackman, right? I mean, if the kid hasn't practiced, and according to Willie on Monday, if you don't practice, you can't really play, especially at quarterback. I assume he's doing it like to just be coy. I don't quite understand the reasoning for it, though, because will that change 1 second of the way NC State prepares? Oh, no, it's not Francois, it's Blackman. You know, the alarm bells sound. We got to do this, this, and this. No, man, it's the same. It's the same defense you're going to be running against the same offense. I don't think it matters one iota who the Florida State quarterback is in NC State's mind. But either way, whatever. Gamesmanship, being coy. Maybe he truly doesn't know. Maybe he'll announce it at 3:32 on Saturday. But either way, it is what it is. It is what it is.
When you're 4-4, though, I guess you have to try to use any sort of competitive advantage that's out there for you.
I just don't know if that's an advantage. What's the advantage? They're not preparing for James Blackman. How would they prepare for James Blackman? I mean, it's all they're doing is scouting the offense and scheming against the offense.
Look at that
I don't
team
know
from
that
last year, son.
If it was DJ Matthews, I could understand not saying it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But with this, I just think it's the same. It's the same offense. The offensive line isn't any good. Quarterback can kind of run. Well, this guy hopefully can run at least a little bit, but I just don't know that it's going to change. It's not like you're going from, say, 2010 when Florida State went from Ponder to EJ. Yeah. Not that EJ couldn't throw, but you knew it was going to be a different offense. It was going to be a lot more design runs with EJ at quarterback for that Virginia Tech game in the championship game as opposed to Ponder. That's why Jimbo wanted to keep it a secret all week. This isn't the same, but it's fine. It's fine. Do what you want to do, Willie.
Yeah, I think the question to him was that he said on Monday that you have to practice to play in the small amount of time that the media was able to observe practice this week. We didn't see him practice, so does that mean he's got enough reps to be able to play? And all Willie said was he's still day to day, and then he said just because you guys didn't see anything doesn't mean but he didn't actually say the fact that just because you guys didn't see anything doesn't mean he didn't take reps. Then he just doubled back to he's still day to day, and then he winked at us. So, yeah, I think it's
he winked. Well, if he winked,
yeah, with pretty heavy.
I mean, who knows what that means?
Yeah,
it's
with
funny.
Pretty heavy and safe assumption, we can say that it's going to be James Blackman. Otherwise, it sounds like Levante Taylor's probably out. Ira asked him about the whole hamstring. It looked like he got it injured, obviously during that touchdown in the second half. Willie said that he's been rehabbing, and that's all and he's also day to day. But I don't know. I mean, he was out there walking around during the walking up to the practice fields, getting ready for the walkthrough. But I don't know. It feels like he's probably not. I would assume he's probably not going to play either. But again, that's just an assumption. And then asked him about freshman Amari Gaynor, also Emmett Rice. Are these guys? Can you potentially lean on them and get some production out of them? He did say that Amari Gaynor had a very good week of practice, and there should be opportunity for everybody. So that's it. No definitive statements on who was identified as a quitter, who's a yellow belly, who's a rat, who's going to sit. We'll just have to wait and see. So I'm pumped. It'll be good. All all this suspense awaits us in Raleigh. And Wikipedia tells me that North Carolina is indeed the Tar Heel State, also known as Old North State to some.
Old North State, huh?
Yeah, there. So
that's a great nickname.
We're going to do some phone calls, but it's also Friday, so let's talk about some over-unders. We just got some from the sports book in Southwood, so that'll be interesting. Corey, let's revisit where we stood. We were 22 and 15, 22 and 15, you and I heading into last week, and there's been some separation. You're unfortunately on the wrong side of it, which I can't believe. I thought you were going to. I thought, in the press box, I looked over at you and said, I think you're going to finally pull away in this whole year-long contest that we have. I went 5-2. You went 2-5.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
You got me on DeAndre Francois passing yards. You went under. I went over. The line was 275. We both got Travis Etienne's rushing yards incorrectly. We both said over on 80. He only ran for 45. DJ Matthews' longest punt return, 12 yards. You said over. I said under. I was correct.
Right.
Number of times DeAndre Francois was hit. Pro Football Focus said, or the number was 10, and this was going to have to be according to Pro Football Focus. You said over. I said under. Pro Football Focus, believe it or not, folks. I'm just looking at the numbers they have. Again, just the numbers they have on here. And they have Francois being sacked 5 times, hit 5 times. So I guess that almost counts as 10, though, right?
There's no way that's accurate. There's no way every time he was hit, he was sacked. You're telling me I couldn't start a replay right now of that game and find one pass he threw where he didn't end up on his back or at least push backwards?
Or actually, I was going to say maybe that's a push. So
maybe it's 5 sacks and 5 hits.
Yeah, so that's actually,
a push. There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Boom.
So, all right, so I'm down to 4-2 and you're 2-4.
All right. Okay, I'll take that. I just gained a game. Gained a game on you in the standings.
Look at that. And picking up to where I left, terrible radio. Number of times Trevor Lawrence was hit, 7. You went over, I went under. I got that right. I think it was 5 total hits on the quarterback.
Yeah, that seems about right. He gets rid of the ball pretty quick. Pretty talented arm that kid has.
Number of replay reviews was 5. I'm pretty sure they didn't look at it 5 times. There was a couple targeting, but other than that. And then the total points scored, you went under, I went over. So that's pretty self-explanatory. So you're 24 and 19.
Yeah, the defense kind of 59. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, so you're 24 and 19. I am 26 and 17. Yeah, what were you thinking? Like, what was your forecast? And if you went under on 51, I'm not saying I saw 59.
Oh, I was thinking like 38-10.
Okay, that's fair.
Something like that. 40-10, 40-13. I guess 40-13 would have been over, but yeah, there's no way I'd have thought he would have come in and put up. I mean, I thought it was going to play out much like the first quarter did.
Yeah.
And then the wheels came off.
And then Asante Samuel had to freelance. I still don't feel comfortable saying that he did something wrong on that play. I guess kids need to have accountability, and maybe us in the media need to hold kids accountable, but I just don't know how you tell a kid to go out there, and they said he did a little too much. I mean, either you're trying to block the kick or you're not trying to block the kick. So,
I think that's the deal, is just don't try to block that kick.
Yeah.
But again, I don't blame him.
No,
I blame the people that get paid to coach him.
Yeah.
To have him understand time, place, and score, and not to go rushing around the end at 100 miles an hour trying to block a meaningless field goal in the second quarter. You won the possession. He just made a really good play, I think, on T. Higgins in the end zone, right? I think he had just deflected a pass away to make it 4th down.
Yeah.
And then he did that.
Sounds about right. All right, here we go. The new numbers, latest from the Sportsbook in Southwood. Over, under, or push. We're even the option of a push is being offered and afforded to us here, Corey, so take advantage. Sacks on quarterback Ryan Finley, 1. I'm going to go over.
I'm going to do under. Okay. I do push. I think they'll get him once.
Okay. Push. For Florida State's quarterback getting sacked, whether it's James Blackman or DeAndre Francois, 3.5. I'm going to say under. I'm sorry, over.
I'm going to say over.
Yeah, I'm going to say over as well, too. I just don't. I don't know if it'll hinder it. Maybe it won't hinder it as much as. I mean, I feel like that number right there almost. Like if it is over, then they're going to lose the game, and if it's under, they probably will win the game.
Yeah, it's pretty important stat there because we all know what if you're sacked and it's 2nd and 22 or 2nd and 17, well, this offense isn't picking that up. Yeah. So yeah, those are big plays when you lose chunk yards.
Longest Florida State run from scrimmage, 12 yards. Mind you, North Carolina State has the 8th-ranked rushing defense in the land.
Over.
Ooh, all right. I will match your optimism. Doing a lot of matchy right here. Keyshawn Helton catches 2.5. I am going to say under. I think 2.
I'm going to say over. I think they'll try to get him. I think they're going to try to figure out, even if it's one of those little flip-de-doo shovel passes when he's coming in motion. You know, those things that have hit huge chunk plays all year. Even if it's a couple of those plays, I think he's going to have about 3 or 4 catches in this one.
Marvin Wilson, his grade from Pro Football Focus, 82%. And to give you some sort of context here, in the game last week against Clemson, he was the highest ranked or graded defender who had taken starter snaps at 88.3.
Yeah, that's a random over/under. I'll say over on that. I mean, he's good, so I assume he'll play well again against NC State.
I'm going to say under. And then total points scored, the official number is 54, Corey. 54. That's like a 28-24 still an under. 27-24.
Over.
Okay.
Sure. Let's see. Let's do it.
I'm going to go under then, just to be a contrarian. Be a contrarian. I don't know. This sounds stupid. Would you rather see Florida State win 17-13 or lose 38-35?
I mean, I probably, to keep me out of Shreveport.
Yeah, you got to.
I guess I'd rather see him lose 38-35, but no, I just think, I think a win's always better than a loss, even if it's an ugly offense. Because, again, we're not expecting the offense to do much. The offense is what it is. So you got to find a way to win. If they can somehow hold NC State to 13 points, that would be a really, really nice rebound from what just happened on Saturday.
Yeah. Part of me, I don't know why, Corey. Maybe you can, deconstruct my scrambled up brain here. Part of me still feels like at some point maybe in these last 4 weeks, this offense has the potential to hang 35, 38 points on somebody. I feel like I don't want to say everything's going to click, but just like everything, things just start going their way. Can a defensive guy miss a gap and then Cam Akers bust something? Can a cornerback fall down? Can a guy break a tackle? Like, can't there be a confluence of 3 or 4 things that goes Florida State's way?
Can't they throw like 20 passes to Tamorian Terry?
That they can control that. They have firm, assertive control over that if they want to make that part of their destiny.
Yeah, man, and NC State's given up 92 points or whatever it is the last 2 weeks. I know one of those was Clemson. I mean, they held Clemson to 41, so do that with that what you will. But then they gave up 50 to Syracuse. So certainly this isn't a very good defense. You should be able to move the ball, especially through the air. The one thing I want to say, though, is so we don't expect Florida State to score 51 points, right, like Syracuse did.
Right.
We really don't even expect them to score 30 because it's hard for them to do that thing. You just can't convince me. And I'm not one of those people that goes strictly by recruiting rankings. I go by my eyesight, too, and what it tells me. But you cannot convince me that Syracuse's offensive line is that much better than your offensive line. You just can't convince me that. You can't convince me that they have supremely more talented players at those 5 positions than Florida State does. So I'm getting to the point, and I don't know if you listen to headlines, but if people that do listen to both shows, I think you could kind of hear it in my voice in the headline show. I'm getting kind of fed up about blaming everything on the offensive line. There is zero chance that this is the least talented offensive line in the country. There's just no way. There's just no way. I mean, Eberle's not a bad center, except when he's snapping it through his butt or he's snapping it to the sun. He's a decent college center. Cole Minshew is not a terrible football player. Mike Arnold might be okay. I know the tackles aren't very good, but again, are Syracuse's tackles great? Are Miami of Ohio's tackles great? Like, literally, Nobody in the country runs for less yards per carry than Florida State, other than San Jose State.
Kansas State's got a better offensive line. Is that what people are trying to tell us?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so what? We can all say that they have a terrible offensive line. Great, okay, but then you're telling me those 5 players, those collection of 5 players, are worse than what Kansas throws out there, are worse than what UTEP throws out there. And I know they play different levels of competition, but Syracuse doesn't. You're telling me that those 1- and 2-star kids that Syracuse has are better, just better football players, more college able than Florida State's? I'm just not buying it, man. I know they're not good, and they haven't been good. And I don't blame that on this coaching staff. But I certainly don't think it all falls at the feet of the offensive line. And you can't just throw up your hands and say, you know what? We've got a bad offensive line. We can't move the ball. Sorry. Yeah. That's not how football works, man. I can't fathom that there are 126 collections of offensive linemen in this country that are better than Florida State's.
I'm with you, brother. I mean, guys are dropping balls. Guys don't know where to line up. Quarterback's holding on to the ball too long.
Quarterback doesn't run. Doesn't run the system well and doesn't run. Doesn't make quick decisions or the correct decisions. Whatever the case may be, it is not all on that offensive line.
This is week 10 now of the football season for Florida State in terms of practicing. And I mentioned it when we were able to watch it on Wednesday. They're just lining up against air, and they're still not lining up correctly.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's that. There's. You just look at some of these numbers, like Wake Forest, putting 56 on Louisville. Florida State putting 24, 28, whatever the end of that score. One miracle touchdown at the end. Yeah. They scored 7 points at the half. Syracuse putting 51 on NC State. Obviously, I will eat 5 legitimate live crows if Florida State scores 50 points on NC State this week. And that's not going to happen. Nobody expects it to happen. So are you telling me that it's just Syracuse's offensive line? That's where – no, man. Like, and the thing that bothers me is that there's this narrative, and it's a correct narrative, man. It's a bad offensive line. But what's going to change next year? Is this just what happens? You don't have a great offensive line, so you throw your hands in the air and say we can't do anything? That's what I think concerns me the most moving forward is no adaptability. I don't know if that's a word or not to what you have up front.
No,
and that's a concern because again, it's going to be a lot of the same players next year. And are they going to get magically better if they're the worst line in the country? Are they going to get magically better? Are they going to get coached better? Is the offense going to be tweaked a little to help them out? I mean, all that stuff is in play. But 10 weeks into the season, we're going into a game against NC State, Florida State football is, where you think, okay, man, they're not going to run for – the over-under is longest run from scrimmage, 12 yards. That's just it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I will never be convinced the offensive line is as bad as 127th in the country, which is what Florida State is in rushing, and they're 128th in yards per carry. That's not on the offensive line. Some of it is, maybe 60%, certainly not 100%. So that needs to be cleaned up, figured out, and get the right players in this system that can play the darn thing.
All right. Well
Sorry.
said.
Now let's get to phone calls.
Yeah. Speaking of the offensive line, let's give somebody a victory lap.
Hey, good morning. This is Notepad Rick, enthusiastic tribal council member. First things first, full disclosure, I've never had more regret being right about anything than I was about our potential high snap from center going over Francois' head and blowing us up in mid-game. But since I certainly appreciate your acknowledgement and quasi-apology from earlier this week. Now, next unpleasant topic. Has anyone yet thought about asking Coach Taggart about the tactical decision to leave, in his words, the quarterback who gives us the best chance to win in the game against Clemson, trailing by 56 points with 10 minutes and 50 seconds to play, only to see that quarterback who gives you the best chance to win go down with an injury?
That's got a lot of people riled up. This offense is so bad, I feel like you need to take any rep that you can in this offense against a live opponent to build confidence, to build something. I mean, DeAndre Francois isn't the golden goose. I mean, I guess there's a certain point where you have to protect your players, but I mean, at what cost then? All right, James, your turn to get the crap kicked out of you now. I mean, unless the kid, I don't know. I mean, if there was body language that showed you that he couldn't take it any longer, then I think you're being derelict of duty. Otherwise, it's, man, this team's got some streaks that mean a lot of that means a lot to a lot of people, and I'm sure that's in the back of the staff's mind. And the only way we're going to get better is, they got to keep repping it. Walt Bell says that, and I mean, they can't line up well against air. Might as well see what they can do against Clemson, their backups, and try to build some sort of rhythm. Try to build everything is with an eye to the future. Not even 19, but just the next week. They've got to make this thing look better by the end of November to make the fans have some sort of enthusiasm and also build up some momentum on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, the more I just think that he must have been trying to save Blackman's red shirt. That's the only thing that makes sense, because otherwise, how many reps does the guy need? What did they had already punted 11 times with DeAndre Francois at quarterback. He with 2 turnovers and a field goal. So he had 14 reps. He'd had 14 drives against the Clemson defense. And he's down by 56 points. I mean, there's no point in him being in the game, especially like my man Notepad said, if you think he's your best chance of winning games, get him out of the game. Because he's your then you think he's your best chance of beating NC State. Well, not if he's hurt. So what's the game was long over. No matter what he did, it was going to be an utter embarrassment. The game had been an utter embarrassment. Even if he leads 2 meaningless touchdowns at the end, it was an embarrassment. So get him out of the game and, get young kids reps. Or they did that, I think, when they put Blackman in, they did play some younger guys. I don't know why they didn't start doing that in the third quarter. I honestly don't. I think maybe, Jimbo would do that sometimes where he would do it in blowout wins where he'd keep his starting quarterback in too long to maybe try to get one more good drive and get him off the field. That's the only thing I can fathom is that's what Taggart was doing, or it had something to do with the red shirt. Because just leaving your starting quarterback in to get pummeled and calling plays as if it's a 17-17 game when you're down by 56 points is kind of a dereliction of duty, man. That if you think he's the bright guy, and maybe that just tells us that he doesn't. I don't know. He wasn't. You're right, because he wasn't protecting him like he was Jameis Winston. We got our Tua. We got to get him out of there. We can't risk it at all. I mean, he's throwing him back out there for a 15th drive when they're down by 56 points. That's bizarre.
Well, Billy's trying to build toughness. Maybe that's one way of doing it. Here's another popular question that's been thrown around on the boards, and I guess let's go ahead and talk about it after this.
Hi, this is Jim. I'm wondering if you think that had Bailey Hockman not bailed out on the team, would he have been starting before now as the quarterback?
Yeah, a lot of folks think that Bailey Hockman is potentially the one that got away, Corey. If only he was still here, maybe Florida State would not be in this predicament. I went back, I remember a few weeks ago, and looked at the Garnet and Gold game stats. He built some sort of mythical reputation on during that game, and his stat line wasn't even that good. Not to say that he can't be a good quarterback, but he did seem firmly entrenched as the number 3 guy when we were out there in terms of accuracy, in terms of the ball coming off of his hand. It wasn't worlds different, but it kind of looked like there was a bit of a stratification there. It was DeAndre, it was James, and then it was Bailey. I mean, if he was here, I don't know if they would have turned to him. And they obviously haven't turned to James Blackman. I don't think they would have turned to the third string guy by now either.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is there's nothing to lead us to believe that Willie would go to a backup, especially if he doesn't think the quarterback is the issue. Which he repeatedly says that as he's criticizing his quarterback for turnovers and not stepping up in the pocket, not getting rid of the ball, and not running. He also says, that's a crazy question. So. I don't know where he stands. I don't know what that conversation was with Bailey. I assume it had to have been something like, I just can't imagine if Bailey Hockman thought he was the second string quarterback behind a redshirt junior, that he would bounce. He must have thought he was behind Blackman too, and he was the third stringer. Yeah. And whether he thought that or was told that, we might not ever know, but that would be the only thing that makes sense for transferring. Because, yeah, man, I mean, anything is better than what we've seen. And again, it's not we watched enough practice, and I've watched enough football games to know that DeAndre Francois is probably the best passer of the 3 when he has time, when he has that pocket. But he's the worst runner. And I just feel like, man, this offense needs an athlete, an able-bodied college quarterback. And Bailey Hockman could have been that guy. Maybe James Blackman is that guy, or maybe he's coming in next year. Who knows? But yeah, I don't think there's nothing that leads us to believe that he would have gone to Bailey Hockman, because he didn't go to James Blackman when it was 59-3.
Yeah. Only thing I have last thought on that is Willie was a bit perturbed that day when we asked him about Bailey Hockman leaving. And I don't know how much of that was we thought this kid could have been a potential solution if he would have shown patience, or he just didn't like the decision overall. But I mean, that's the only thing I would give credence to. Maybe he could have been helped, because I guess he played better. I mean, his stats were better in the spring game, but golly, I wish I had those up to be able to look at him right now. It wasn't amazing, and there was nothing that you saw in practice that was amazing that you thought, okay, this kid, if he keeps to it, he could be something special. And hey, I'm plenty wrong on this show. I could be wrong about that, but of all the things that have gone wrong for Florida State this year, I don't think at any point have I thought, I wonder what this team would look like if Bailey Hockman was still here.
Well, and the new reality, quite frankly, is in college football, you're going to have two quarterbacks. The days of 3 and 4 quarterbacks sitting there waiting their turn, it's done. It's obvious. I mean, Clemson's the number 2 team in the country, and they lost their second stringer in October. So it's done. You're not going to have more than 2 quarterbacks, which is why many people wonder what's going to happen to Blackman or Francois next year when Howell comes in. I just don't think having 3 or 4 quarterbacks for like 2 years, that's just not happening. That's just not the way the world works anymore.
Hey, Corey, we got 4 questions. Let's try to keep succinct answers so we can get all these in and then get on with our day, and everybody else as well. Let's turn to coaches now. Enough about the Jimmies and the Joes. What about the coaches?
Hey, guys, it's James from California. Hey, I think instead of playing the war chant when the offenses takes the field, I think we should play circus music. Wanted to get your take on that. Serious question. Wanted to see what's your thoughts of the coaching staff. Maybe give them a grade, A, B, C, D, E, F. I don't know how much time you have, but obviously some of the positions are limited by who they have. But wanted to get your take and see what you thought the coaching grades are so far this year. Thanks a lot, guys.
How about this, Corey? Let me flip it on you. So back in the day, A was excellent, B was very good, C was average, D was below average, F is failing. Who on the staff is above a D?
Barnett, Odell, Snyder. I mean, that about sums it up, right?
Are the receivers average? Are they C? Or is that below average?
No, I don't think so. No, because they do. They again, you talk about lining up incorrectly, running onto the field late, not blocking at all, except for Terry. No, I wouldn't call them average. Not if we're grading on the Florida State curve. Right. Of what Florida State should expect. Then no, I don't think. By the way, it's weird that in the grading system they go A, B, C, D, and then they just skip E and go straight to F.
Well,
I guess because F made more sense for failing than E would have. Yeah. And I know when I was in elementary school, E was an excellent.
Yeah.
So, but still, it's kind of odd that they went A, B, C, D, and then say, let's skip E. We're not even part of E. Let's go to F.
Okay. Sorry, I was trying to read the transcript on this, but we'll let it rip.
Hey guys, Dirk from Claremont calling. Love the show. I remember Corey specifically saying before the season even started, because of this offense, if it's not clicking, it's going to look bad. And even in the best case scenario, with everybody doing their jobs, there are times when this offense is really bad looking, and we've seen that all year. So he called that right away. I guess my other point would be, or question would be, is DeAndre really, is he hurt? Is that what it is, or is he just snake bit? I remember specifically, I was in the stadium, Camping World Stadium, Orlando, against Ole Miss, and he brought the team back. I remember him using his legs a lot and thinking, wow, this guy's going to be a running threat, and now he can't even move. Just wanted to get your take. Continue to do a great job, and wake up. All
right. Thanks a lot, Dirks from Claremont.
Thanks for calling in a wind tunnel, too. We don't get a lot of those calls.
Oh, Corey. Is DeAndre Francois snake bitten? I don't know. I think just that knee injury, obviously, it was a lot. he was able to come back and practice, but to come back and be who he was, he's not on that timeline. He hasn't met that mark.
Who is that? Did you say his name was Dirk?
Dirk, yeah.
All right, yeah, good work, Dirk. Where's he from?
Claremont. It's Central Florida, yeah. Orlando area.
I wasn't sure where Claremont was. Yeah, man, I appreciate him giving me the shout out for being correct. But I will say this: I also said a bunch of stuff that hasn't turned out to be true at all, including they were going to boat race some teams because when this thing gets rolling, it really leads to 50-point wins. None of us could have expected it to look this bad. Again, 127th in the nation in rushing from a guy that had been averaging like 8th in the nation in rushing the last 3 years. It was inconceivable. Literally, there was no way I could have foreseen this. It just makes no sense that it's this awful. But yeah, man, I just think I don't know. I don't know what to do with this offense. I don't know where it's going to go. Hopefully, it'll get better. It can't get worse. But you have to have a quarterback that can run. And I'm with you. I thought Francois at times his first year was pretty dynamic running the ball. Now, again, he was never going to be a 4-4 guy or a 4-5 guy, but he made some guys miss in the open field. He ripped off some pretty big runs. Would be hard to bring down in the open field. And now it's just not there. I don't know if he's hurt, if he's just beaten and battered and bruised, but the person that I think a person wrote in yesterday talking about how he just looks unathletic. And he does. He can't slide well. He can't make anybody miss. He can't outrun defensive ends. It doesn't work with a non-mobile quarterback. And he is the definition of non-mobile.
All right, 2 more questions. Let's try to shoehorn them in.
Hey, it's James from Tallahassee. I just got 2 quick things to say. One, I was wondering if you guys thought we should have let this new Renegade walk out the door with Jimbo. This is the same horse that fell in the Orange Bowl we all saw what happened last week. He just can't seem to get right. And 2, I wanted y'all to clear up what y'all mean, because you always say y'all want someone to stand up for the quarterback when he's getting hit and not just stand there and let people abuse the quarterback. But then Cam Akers stands up for him, lets him know he ain't going to let that happen to his quarterback, and he gets a penalty. Y'all call it a dumb foul. I just think I need to pick one way or the other. Bye.
All right. I don't even know what he did to get the personal foul penalty. So I guess he hit somebody away from the ball to defend DeAndre's honor. I didn't even know that was.
No. So I guess maybe we before we criticize somebody, we should actually know what the penalty was for. I think I was looking down or something. I didn't even see the flag come out, so I don't know what he did. But yeah, man. I mean, sure, there should be people fighting for their quarterback and being upset that he got hit. So that was after the snap, right?
I think so. Yeah. Because that was the second.
Maybe he took umbrage because I don't even think DeAndre dove on the ball, right? Didn't Nooney go get it? So maybe DeAndre was hit away from the actual ball, and Cam Akers was mad about that. Sure, man. If that's the case, then maybe it wasn't a dumb penalty. I don't remember calling it a dumb penalty just because I didn't see it, but I take your word for it that I did.
I just added to the list of things that he did wrong. I mean, he dropped the pass, he fumbled, and he also had that penalty. I wasn't saying necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, I wasn't calling him stupid, but it wasn't good. You can't do that. I mean, you can defend your teammate, but you can't, draw a 15-yard flag. As for the horse, man, was it the horse's fault? The spear is the spear. Yeah, the spear didn't plant. In case you guys didn't see the Clemson game.
The horse kind of just slowed down. Old Renegade slowed down. He certainly get into the middle and rise up. And that's the thing, man, because that horse was great. He was the best Renegade in history. I even wrote about him and jinxed him. I wrote about him before the Orange Bowl. But remember, because Harbaugh kept talking great things about him. I can't wait to see that horse.
And the owners, they wanted no part of it. They're like, please don't do this, Corey.
Yeah, he really did not want me. The Durham family did not want me to write about it. He begged me not to write about it. I said, look, I'm writing about it either way. Can I just get a couple quotes from you? Begrudgingly, he did. He's like, look, we just like to do our job. We don't look for publicity. We don't want any attention. Just let us do our jobs. I'm like, look, Alan, I'm writing it either way. Can I at least get a couple quotes? It's a fun column, and I think he deserves the attention. And that was, I would say, 4 days before he went and almost killed Osceola in the Orange Bowl. So I apologize profusely, and I will never write about Renegade again. But I think maybe that rattled the old Renegade a little bit, right? I mean, that would rattle you if you have that moment on that stage. But yeah, he hasn't been great this year. We got to get him up to par. We got to get him up to par, and that probably will be when the program turns around.
Yeah. All right, last one. Let's do a lot of listening.
Aslan, Corey, wake up. It's Marlon for Miami. I only have one bone to pick with Willie, and it has to do with players quitting. When he first arrived here, he told the players that his job was to replace them with new recruits. So my question is, why hasn't he replaced Nooney with these new talented recruits that he brought in? Because obviously those receivers are not lining up correctly as far as every play. So why is not Nooney being replaced? Can we get these new talented receivers out there? Because anything they do is going to be better than anything Nooney's doing to this point.
I mean, they tried. They tried to put those guys out there sometimes, and earlier in the season it didn't work out. But I think maybe they've hit a point now where they have to.
Well, certainly in the first half, since he won't be there, they'll have to. The thing with Nooney is he is the leading receiver, and he made the play against Louisville, and he's made plays. He made the play against Virginia Tech that should have been a touchdown that he was kind of screwed out of by an ACC official upstairs and by his coaching staff. So there have been moments in the games where he's made plays and he's made contributions, and overall you could say he's been maybe, I guess, their most consistent receiver, because Tamori and Terry, they just can't stand or something. But at the same time, it always seems like with him in particular, there's one or two moments in every game where you just shake your head and just, oh man, Nooney, come on, man, really? And it's kind of been that way his whole career. He shows this immense potential, these great flashes, and as Jimbo talked about him when Jimbo had him the last 2 years, and then he kind of devolves back into being Nooney, and he never really took that next step into being the unquestioned, consistent number one wide receiver on this team. But at the same time, man, I think Willie thinks maybe it changed after this week because it was just disgusting, but I think he's thought going into every game that number 8 gives him a better chance to make plays downfield and to make plays in the passing game than any of the new guys. Yeah. For whatever reason, that's what he thinks. Now, maybe that changes now. Maybe he says, you know what? I'm done with it. I got to start preparing for the future. I can't worry about trying to get the 7 wins with this team. I need to start thinking about 2019 and 2020 and getting these guys some real reps. So maybe Nooney's role is diminished. Maybe Gavin's role is diminished. But it's a fine line because he also wants to win, and he must think that number 8 gives him a better chance to win than those other guys.
Yep. Let's see if the Shawns, Trey and Key, can get out in the field and make some contributions. Corey, the calendar has flipped now to November. Obviously, day 2. Can you leave us with some wisdom as you have to get out the door and become a good father?
Look, we've all had 59 to 10s in our life, right? We all have, whether it's a date that went horribly, a grade that you got that was just an embarrassment. Maybe you actually lost some sort of football game in your life 59 to 10. I hope that's never happened to you because that would be really humiliating. But it's not the 59 to 10s that make us who we are, Aslan. You know what I'm saying? It's how we respond to the 59 to 10s that make us who we are. And that means as men, as women, as husbands, as wives, as fathers and mothers, and sons and daughters. That's who defines us, is how we answer 59 to 10. Aslan, I'd like you to finish a sentence for me, and then we'll be done. Adversity
introduces a man to himself.
There you go, buddy. You know what I'm saying? So go out there and introduce yourself to each other, everyone. Have a great weekend. I hope you had a great Halloween. I can't imagine we're going to see another 59 to 10, but if we do, just know that we'll bounce back because we've been introduced to adversity now. I love each and every one of you. I love Aslan more than I can't even imagine loving anyone more than this. And I just want to kind of I think we should snuggle once or twice, Aslan. What do you think about that?
All right. Thanks for listening to Wake Up War Chant, everybody.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.